So normally I try and have something clever to say, but I'm just going to keep it real. I sat down to record a ton of content. When I tell you I had like 5 videos planned, I've got notes, I've got everything that I wanted to talk about, and literally crickets. Like nothing wanted to flow today. And so I had to laugh because I find myself in the space where many of my clients are. Hold, please. I gotta get this bottle open. Oh my goodness, that was some serious effort. I had the wrong corkscrew. Somebody please tell me why I have not gotten an electric corkscrew. Actually, I know why. I remember while back I was watching, there's a sommelier I like to watch on YouTube, and he was talking about how like it takes the real experience out of it. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it by hand. No, no. Amazon immediately. I'm getting an electric corkscrew. So anyway, I had sat down today and I had a ton of content that I was ready to release, or to record rather, to release, because I find I like to batch create. And with all of my notes, all of my details, everything that I wanted to talk about, had some really great intros and hooks and blah, 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 blah. And everything within my body was like, hell to the motherfucking nah. Like it almost, I don't want to say it almost put me to tears because it wasn't quite that dramatic, but it was really frustrating. It was really disappointing. And I was ready to sit down and record, and everything kept telling me no. And the thing that was, I think, the most frustrating about it is recording content, going live. Like, these are not things that I'm new to. Going live, I love going live. I love video content. And for some reason, I just couldn't get it to flow. Like, I couldn't, was stumbling and stammering, and it just felt really bleh. And I had to kind of take a step back and giggle gaggle at myself, because I was like, this is exactly where my alphas are when they come to me. My, as you know, I like to call them my alpha CEOs. So often they're going through life, they're winning, they're making it do what it do, and they wake up, and over the course of time, it's like, ugh, it just feels ugh, like something in here feels off. It feels boring. It feels stagnant. It feels inauthentic, even though it's the thing that's been the most authentic to you for, the last 2 decades, And so in that space, I kind of had to sit back and really think about it. And that's the thing about being in the coaching industry is like, if you, and this is just my personal opinion, nobody said this is not a hard, fast rule, but I really feel like you really have to be in the position to coach yourself sometimes. It's not always about being motivated, because motivation is what it is. It's understanding the thought behind the thought, really getting to the root of the matter. And so when I started to really think about it, I had to admit to myself, go figure, I had to admit to myself that this isn't where I want to be. Like, I don't want the nice curated posts and videos. Like, I want the freedom. I want the flow. I want the a deeper layer of, I don't want to use the word authenticity, because that's always where it is. My guiding principles, I've mentioned this before, are authenticity, integrity, and sustainability. And authenticity is always number one. Sometimes I interchange for number two, sustainability and integrity, depending on what I'm doing. But by and large, it's authenticity, integrity, and sustainability. And so what I've been doing has been very authentic to me. But for some reason, over the last 2 to 3 weeks, and especially when I sat down to batch create today, it just felt really ugh. And in the word that I used from Friday's live stream, it felt icky, right? And I realized that I'm in this space of evolution. Like this things are evolving in my life. They're evolving in my brand. They're evolving in my message. They're evolving in my beingness of who I am and what I'm doing and how I'm presenting myself to the world. And I talked about this on Friday. There's this beautiful space of like stepping beyond professionalism. Like I want to be clear. Like, I absolutely love and support being professional, being a professional at what I'm doing. Like, I'm honored by this space. However, I think there is sometimes a trap within the space of professionalism. And I had to get real with myself. Like, what is it that I really, really want that I'm not allowing myself to want? And I think because I saw such a glow up and a blow up in my business, in my the types of clients I've been attracting, in my bottom line, like let's keep it a buck, right? In my bottom line over the last 18 months, that I kind of trapped myself into this box of this is what it has to look like. This is how I have to present myself in order to reach this type of clientele, in order to move forward. And what is so messed up about that is like it is lack based thinking. And that is the one thing that I am not about. Like, I do not support lack based thinking. Even when I'm working within my clients, I'm always like, be honest. Like, what is it that you really want? Like, and what's the thought behind the thought? And when it came down to it for me, I recognized where I've been holding myself back. So today, we grab a bottle of wine. We're going to just have a few sips and really just talk about what is going on in my mind and some of the upcoming changes. Not bad. So, without going into too much, I mean, I don't plan on making a lot of changes within my coaching itself. You know, everything that I do is based on purpose plus passion equals profit. And let's just take a minute to talk about that. Purpose plus passion equals profit. That is like my honest to God motto. That is how I have structured my entire business, my entire life, and my whole coaching philosophy, because I truly, truly believe that on the surface we have desires. And that's kind of like the surface level. And once we get beneath, like again, what's the thought behind the thought, we can start to tap into the passions. Majority of the time when I'm working with someone, all their surface level desires have an intersection into a space that's passion that they're passionate about. That desire is like the physical surface manifestation of the passion, right? The soul aligned passion. And then when we take that passion a step further, then we start to tap into all of that. There's an intersection where there is like purpose. Our passions are usually highly indicative. Again, once we go below the surface, what's the thought behind the thought? What's the thought behind that? Then we start to tap into our purpose. And we move into a space where when you've been good at something for such a long time and you're doing well and you're succeeding and you're living the life that you've been working towards for the last, I don't even know how many years, where it starts to get stale. It starts to stall out. It starts to get a little bit boring. And in that space, it's wild because you're like, I don't want to mess with what's been working, right? I know my flow, I know my people, I know the situation. Like I don't want to fuck with what's been working. But there becomes this point where like you're doing it and it's working, but it's almost meaningless. Like it's like it's empty. It feels fucking boring. I hate to say it like that, but I don't hate to say it like that. Like, let's just call it what it is. The polite thing to say would be, oh, I hate to say it like that. But the reality is, if I'm keeping it 100%, I really don't hate to say it. Like, it really is what it is. And I'm in this space right now of recognizing the boredom in what I'm doing. And it's forcing me to evolve or to recognize the evolution that's going on beneath the surface of me. And it's wild because my whole business was built out of the space of being the bored housewife, of earning a good living in my business, my husband letting me do what I want, of yacht charters, of extended vacations. Again, you're talking to the girl who went to the Bahamas for a 2-month vacation and stayed for 8, on a solo trip. Why? Because I can. Because there was a level of boredom and there was a level of freedom within doing that, within taking that trip. And, side note, I discovered so much about myself. It turned out to be a really positive thing for me. But now I'm in that space again, a couple of years later, where now I'm working with this new audience. Well, 4 years, I guess, isn't really new, but this audience, and loving working with my dominant alphas because, again, when I had to get serious and ask myself, what do I really want? Um, I had a coach at the time, and she really helped me recognize, like, you working with women, like it works, and you're earning a living, and everything is good, but it doesn't land. Like, it's not truly authentic to you. And I was like, yeah, what? No, you're right. You're right. You're right. And so I had to be honest with myself and why I wasn't working with men. And that's maybe we'll talk about that and later on or another day because that's a whole other situation. But I had a lot of freedom, and I still do, to do what I want. My husband has been extremely gracious in the sense of, like, when I make money, he doesn't have an expectation of me contributing to the household. Now, should I choose to? And when I do, absolutely love it. Great. But for someone who seemingly is living within a space of abundance, to really admit that I'm bored within my abundance, at times it feels greedy and it feels selfish. But the thing that I had to recognize is that it wasn't so much that I was being greedy or being selfish. There are some people where that is the case. But for me, it was a recognition of I have a greater capacity for more. And I've been playing inside the safe lines rather than going out and reaching for that moreness. And so that's when I shifted from moving from the goddess realm into that alpha CEO realm, right? And it's been fun. It's been, in Sharita terms, it's been juicy and delicious and a lot of fun. And it really has satisfied my soul. And I'm still very much in that space. I'm honored to be in this space, but I also recognize with how I've been showing up and presenting myself into the world, not so much on social media because I did take a big step back for a while, but even in networking events, in one-on-one sessions, it's been very contained. And I don't want to live in that structured container anymore. So I'm in this space of evolution, and it's an interesting space to be in when you are attempting to layer in your new clarity and understanding and newfound freedom into your current business structures. One thing I will not recommend, because I did this once and it was a tough rebuild, where when I was transitioning from working with women to working with men, like I burned the whole thing down. You know what I'm saying? And it really didn't have to be that deep. I really just needed to, like, ease in and transition. And so that is one thing that I definitely work with a lot with my alphas, like letting them know you don't have to burn it all down to start it over, but you do have to be honest with yourself and admit what is no longer working, even though it's working on the surface, it's working behind the scenes, even it's working, it's supporting your lifestyle, it's supporting your business, but there are things that we want that we're not always allowing ourselves to want. And that's not for everybody. But there are certain types, certain people where we've got a bigger capacity for more. And it's not even about being fearful, or being afraid of going after the more. That's not it, because when you have that bigger capacity, you can see it. And you're like, I'd like to try and handle this. Sometimes it's the outside expectations, the external expectations of who you've presented yourself to be and who you've told the world you're going to be and how you show up in the world. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, wait a minute. No, I'm not feeling it so much anymore. So it's about being real, understanding what that evolution is, first acknowledging it, recognizing it, understanding what it is, and then finding ways to layer it in. So I say all that to say that moving forward, rather than to do it in the traditional way of marketing where, this is how you structure your videos and you have this hook, or even in my written content, even in my photos, Lord knows I've spent plenty of money on brand shoots, and I always love my photos, but I'm not in love with them, if that makes sense. And so I have decided moving forward, like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, I am going to go free flowing Sharita. What you see is mostly what you get. There's always going to be a little bit that I reserve to myself, and within my household and within my marriage. But what you see is what you get, essentially. And I'm not going to hold myself hostage to the proper way of doing things. Now, here's the thing: I don't recommend that everybody go and operate in this space. I know that I am the type of person, and I know that my energetic signature does not do well in a box. Some people do amazing with structure and rules. I like guidelines. Like, give me a general guideline, but let me free flow from there. I know that I have the type of energy, and I am the type of person, and my level of magnetism is wholly dependent upon me moving within a steady state of flow. And again, not everybody is built for that. Not everybody should be built for that. It's not that one way is better than the other. It's just I know what is right for me, and I know what's authentic to me. I know what works best, and I know that I can still operate within this space of luxury coaching without having to show up in these beautifully curated, brand shoots. And again, no offense to those of you who do that. I love that for you. I love that for you. So I really just wanted to take a moment to stop and inform. For those of you who are familiar with human design, I would be considered a manifester, and manifestors, one of our strategies is to inform, because we tend to make drastic moves from time to time, or moves that are outside of the norm, and that we can sometimes in that space repel others and even be repelled by certain things. It's very important to keep people informed. And I don't want to do it in that traditional way of moving forward, this is what it's going to be. Like, no, it's not that deep. Like, hey, I'm just letting you know it is what it is what it is, and what it is what it's going to be. And what it's going to be is what it is. And I'm moving in that free flowing spirit, because who the fuck am I to encourage someone, to even coach someone, to tap into the thought behind the thought, to recognize the evolution in who they are, and to grow into their capacity for more, and not do it within my own self. Now, what's so beautifully amazing about this time and space is, for anyone who is in the astrology realm, I do dabble. I definitely don't consider myself an expert. And I like astrology in reverse, and I'll come back to that in a second. But we're moving into forward thinking, or looking forward. We're moving into, or we're in a shadow period of a Mercury retrograde, and that is occurring in my 11th house. So it only makes sense when I look at that in hindsight, where I'm like, no wonder I'm in this space of refining not only my message and whom I'm speaking to and I'm working with, but also in how I'm presenting myself, looking at my friend groups, which is something I've been doing a lot over the last year. So, like, there are times we grow and evolve, not just on the physical plane, but on the spiritual, the emotional plane, where we're like, it's time to move forward, make space for something new. So even in my personal relationships, there is a period of refinement that I'm going through. And it's fun. The thing about this energetic space is it can be a real fucking hassle, where you're kind of fighting yourself and you feel like you're constantly bumping up against something, or you can take a step back and just recognize it and like play within it. And I like this space of playing within it. So that's how we ended up here today. I was like, you know what? Normally I would have a bottle of Pellegrino, but today I'm feeling like a bottle of wine. We're going to grab it. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk. We're going to see what flows. We don't have any agenda. And if it comes out of my mouth, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well, we'll catch it on the next one. Now, let me circle back real quick. And I said I like astrology in hindsight. So as someone who grew up in a extremely deeply Christian home, astrology was always a big no-no, right? And there became a time in maybe my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, where I started just looking at different things. And to me, it was always weird because this is just me, right? I'm not saying this for anybody to contradict or to argue or even to agree. But my thought was always, if God created all of this, right? The sun, the moon, and the stars included, and so many civilizations and cultures from the beginning of time have used the predictability of the sun, the moon, and the stars to understand what is coming forth. Like, why would we completely dismiss that? Any person I've known a few nurses who worked in the ER. Anytime you talk to like first responders, anybody like that, and you're like, what's the craziest time of the month? And everybody by far is like, oh my God, full moon is like that's when the crazies come out. So there are these things that happen in cycles that we can almost set our watches by, that I had to kind of just start taking a glance at, maybe with a little bit more open mindset, right? It's not to say anybody has to buy into astrology. Like, I'm not here to sell you astrology. I don't even talk about astrology in my business, in my coaching. But I do leverage the energy that's available when I'm working on my messaging, when I'm timing things. But I tend to do a lot of astrology in hindsight, in the sense of something will happen, or I'm feeling some kind of way, or, a situation occurs, and then I'll go back and look at some in-depth astrology, not the newspaper, like today the sun is going to shine, but it might be cloudy, right? Not that stuff, but like a more of an in-depth space. And I'm just like, ooh, I see where that happened. There have been situations in my life, and when I've gone back and looked them up astrologically, like using an ephemeris, I'm like, oh shit, that was spot fucking on. So I do, there's some level of taking it with a grain of salt, but I do find that there's a beautiful space of reliability within it. And so like I said, I went live on Friday, and it was a very impromptu thing. And I was like, I just want to say what I got to say, because I was talking about the icky politeness. Like, there's this fake icky politeness a lot of times when you're on social media, where everybody's like, hi, yes, that's beautiful. Oh, and congratulations. Where sometimes you just, like, me personally, and I'm like, girl, that's badass. Like, and I'm like, I'm going to stop being in the icky politeness of, oh yes, that is lovely. And I'm just going to go out and be like, yeah, that's badass, or little cringe. Like, just keep it real. Right. And it's not to step outside of professionalism. It's to bring authenticity into it, because there's a delicious space where the two come together, where I think most people's magnetism truly resides. Right. A lot of times where we get forced into strategies and structure. And again, I love strategy. For you astrology people, Virgo, Scorpio here, right? Like, if anybody is got a game plan and a backup plan and is scheming, like, it's gonna be the Virgo, Scorpio of me. Like, my sun, my ascendant, and then that Scorpio moon. Like, I'm always plotting and planning in the best way possible. I mean, I know you say scheming and plotting and planning, and people go, but I'm like, anyway. So I say all that to say, I have found that some of my most delicious and prosperous, both physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, all of the LEs, happen when I'm in that free flowing space. And now that I've got my a solid foundation in what it is that I'm doing, I'm tapping back into the beingness of self. Like, I've been doing in alignment with me and in authenticity with me, but it's been very strategic. And now that I have full control and understand the level of strategy, I'm moving deeper into the beingness of it, into the free flowingness of it, into the I don't want to say the woo woo, but that oracle essence of Sharita, where I know that I can move freely and still be just as effective. And the truth of the matter is that I am genuinely hoping that being in this space, it does two things. That, number one, it absolutely repels those who are not meant for me and that I am not meant for. I fully accept that. I understand that that's going to happen. And I am okay with it because what it does do is it opens up more space, more freedom to connect with those who are magnetized by my presence and what I'm saying and what I'm doing, and who are sitting at home thinking, oh my God, like I have the life, I have a beautiful wife, I've got these amazing children, I've got the house, the car, the dog, the cat, the whatever, the whatever, the whatever. And it still isn't enough. Like, I get you, I see you, I love you, I appreciate you. And I want you to explore that capacity that you have for more. And again, I understand for some people it's a level of greed, but that level when we move into that space of greed and selfishness, that's not capacity, right? That's not a capacity for more. That's an empty cup. There's a difference when you've got a full cup, but you recognize you have a capacity for more versus having an empty cup altogether, right? And being unfulfilled, period, or not being full. So there. I hope that I don't know if I'm really explaining that, but I feel like if you get it, you get it. What do the kids say? If you know, you know. So yeah, I think that about sums up what I want to say. But I'm going to move into this very uncurated space of just enjoying life, enjoying my message, because I know what I'm here to do. I know whom I'm here to speak with and to impact and to be impacted by. Because the beautiful thing about being in this coaching space is it very much is a two-way street. There's a space where I get to coach others, but in that space of coaching others, it brings me my own clarity and understanding and allows me to grow and evolve and to satisfy that capacity for more. So peace and love, family. Happy, happy day. And here is to an amazing week ahead. And, the funny thing is, I don't even think I introduced myself. My name is Sharita Bagby. Why do I even see? This is what happens when you have everything nice and curated. You've got your intro ready, but then when you don't, you're like, wait, what do I normally say here? My name is Sharita Bagby, former conformist turned prophet rebel, working with high achieving men moving into that space of purpose, passion, and profit. Delicious profit. And again, delicious profit isn't just about the money. Delicious profit is that profit that feels as good as it looks. Like, yeah. Yeah. If you haven't heard me say this, let me just say it now. Your life should turn you on. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's wrap up. I do have a few other videos that I want to crank out. So you'll be seeing more of me in this space with my delicious glass of Chardonnay. Feel free to join in and I'll catch you in the next video.